So welcome everyone. This is Loot Town Square number 25.
GM.
Yeah, amazing. 25 weeks of weekly community calls. Pretty awesome. This week we've got kind of a short lineup, but it's going to be fun. I think it looks like it's all focused on games. So that's exciting. We have Monkster here, Brent from Gripner. Hopefully he can share about on-chain tabletop gaming in the Lootverse. We have standard combo here to give us the full rundown on Loot MMO. And I don't see Sportsbeard here, but if Sportsbeard does show up, then maybe we'll get some fun behind the scenes look at what's next for the Crypt game.
I love it. And then I think we're going to review Gitcoin proposals today, just anything that came up and hasn't been talked about yet, and also any commentary from around the community about anything that people want to give +1s to or questions or feedback on. And then if we have time, I also wanted to have a quick brainstorm about some IP stuff. There's some really cool chatter going on in the Writers Room channel related to this Genesis Scrolls project, thinking about CCO and just other rights strategies we can think of. And so if we have time, I want to do a little brainstorm between the crew here. But if I can grab the mic for a sec, I want to kick us off with a good vibes only fun little moment here. I'm going to give the credit to Code Monkey, but I think you want me to speak for you, so I will speak on your behalf, and I'll channel your good vibes through my voice here. Some background context. Dude, who's on the call here of the Rift, has been just a huge supporter and backbone of the Lootverse, building a really powerful public good with this Rift XP model, the whole Rift game, and the mana crystals, and just being a quiet community leader. Maybe not so quiet. Being a community leader. And in the background, there's been a game that he launched, I don't know what, a month ago? A game or a quest or a challenge, or I don't know what you would call it. And through the game, there were some prizes, some loot prizes and a Blitnot prize. And that if you, the first person to kind of win this game or win the first round of this game, won a loot bag, if I remember correctly, and won a Blitnot. And the person who won those is on the call, Code Monkey here. So just awesome vibes all around to create something that's Lootverse native and fun and lightweight and reinforces this Rift XP Mana Crystals game, etc. And congrats to Code Monkey on just crushing it. I don't know all your magic and secrets, but I think you built a bunch of technology to support it and probably learned a ton, and probably also gave a ton of feedback to Dude about how the model for the Rift works. I will give Dude you a chance to speak in a second here. But the good vibes, amazing announcement I wanted to call out is that the other person who's been a community leader for Loot and just a positive backbone that's been helping a ton of projects and helping the wider community is on the call here too, Loot Hero. And we all have known that Loot Hero, you really wanted the Blitnot for a long time. And so we conspired in a Discord channel, probably for the past month or so, to team up together, share some of the mana crystals and adventure mana along the way. The plan was to pool it all together and win that quest for you. I think it turned out that Code Monkey kind of just crushed it on his own. But having crushed it all on his own, you've seen all of his transactions, you've seen him crush it. We have a channel called A Gift for Loot Hero, and he decided to gift you the Blitnot that he picked up from the Rift. He just tweeted about it, so I'll share that tweet in here. But just, man, what a good vibes moment. What a good vibes, example of the Lootverse coming together. And here, I'll post it in the general chat. This whole world, crypto land in general, is going through a weird moment, but the Lootverse has just been a safe harbor from this crazy storm and just a quiet, fun, powerful place for builders. And so this moment, to me, just feels like a little instantiation of that. So huge +1. Big ups to Code Monkey for just digging in and winning. Huge ups to Dude for creating this model. And thanks to Loot Hero also for what you do for all of us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Code Monkey, for that. Wow, I think this quest was created like several months ago, and even for Code Monkey to be able to complete it within a few months was actually pretty phenomenal. As Tim Shell mentioned, I've been pretty competitive trying to win that 1 million mana prize, and a number of other people have as well. And even collectively, trying to compete with Code Monkey has been very, very difficult. And I just feel like for the last few months, I've been kind of stalking him on the blockchain, which has kind of like a real world metaverse vibe to it too. And I've kind of written some lore about that in some of the channels where it's I've been following Code Monkey, and he found this hidden passageway into the rift, and I think he has a secret mana garden in there, and all of that turned out to be exactly true, essentially. And then since then, I've gone in there as well, and it's just been this whole thing for months now. And Code Monkey, for you to complete both the 500,000 mana challenge, donate that to the loot bag to the Open Quill program, and then complete the 1 million as well. And donate it to me is just really meaningful. I deeply appreciate it, and my respect for you as an on-chain adventurer is to the highest degree. I mean, the things that you've discovered within that code base, the feedback you've provided, and the compassion you've shown to the community and the love you've shown to the community is top notch. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to jump in real quick and say, first off, echo everything that Tim Shell and Hero said about Code Monkey. I mean, he was one of the earliest supporters of the Rift, and really, got into the code base and provided some really essential feedback. My math was off by a few months. I was thinking we would have the next phase of the Rift and an Adventure Mana ready by the time these quests were completed. But they're not quite ready yet. Maybe got to think of some interim quest before that next piece gets released. And also, if y'all didn't know, we did write a story about the Rift and the discovery of the Rift. And because of Code Monkey's super generous donation to the Open Quill project, and now this, unrelated to this one, but we the main character in that Rift story is based off of Code Monkey. So it's that was kind of the Rift's kind of thank you to Code Monkey for his huge support. So that was super cool to see him do it once, not only once but twice. That was awesome.
I know it felt so long ago that I had actually forgotten that the first loot bag that you won, Code Monkey, you donated to the Open Quill program, which is just incredible. I did thank you effusively then, but I'll thank you effusively now. I'm having so much fun with this Open Quill program, and I think as a community, it's really allowed us to come together in our most creative way. And having loot native assets and even the core OG loot bags in the Open Quill treasury allows us to give out not only ETH rewards and prizes to writers, but give out ownership of OG loot, which I think is really powerful. I'm a huge proponent of giving ownership to people who will act like owners, and you are definitely somebody who's acting like an owner, and I think everybody who's writing for this community and participating in the creative joy and this creative experiment are acting like owners, even if you're not yet owners of OG loot bags. And so, I'll leave that there as a tease. The Genesis Scrolls Open Quill Treasury, I think, has 3 loot bags in it now, and we don't intend to keep them. So I'll just leave that there. Code Monkey, if you want to speak, go for it, but I know you wanted me to channel your voice. But thank you again. Lots of love all around. While we're talking Rift, I just popped a link into General. The Lootverse ecosystem grants round is still open. It's open for another week or so. Dude's Rift and Monocrystal's grant just got approved, I think, yesterday. So please hop in there. Even $1, I think, gets matched by... Here, let's see. $1 for this gets matched by $30, and $100 gets matched by $220 extra dollars, just based on the magic of quadratic funding and the loot matching pool. So please do go in there, even if it's kind of annoying to have to create a Gitcoin account and then donate. It's worth it. But if you're feeling the good vibes of this moment, definitely pop into Gitcoin, and even like donating $10 across 3, 4, 5 projects. It really does go a long way to just raise your hand and stand up and say, "Hey, I'm here. I see you, and I support what you're doing." And also, it goes a long way, financially speaking. That some of these grants, I mean, let's look. If you look at Gitcoin, we'll probably come back to it later. But some of these grants, like the Hyper XP one from Dude, so far has $500 of donations from the community, matched by $13,000 from the Loot Treasury. So again, it really does go a long way. I'll pop that one in here too.
Thank you. Yeah. Just a really quick summary of those 2 grants. The one is for the Rift and Mana Crystals, and that's to support sort of the revamp of the site. There's a bunch of people that are helping behind the scenes to build that, so most of that money is going to go to them and to Art to kind of help pay for the support. And then the Hyper XP one is towards the new experience protocol for the Hyperverse.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Code Monkey, and thanks for letting us kick off with that. That's a really positive start to this Thursday, and also, just like I said, a really nice little bright spot in a strange crypto roller coaster moment right now. Back to you, Andrew, if you want to MC the official presentations today.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for that. I think we should start with Gripner. Monkster, I know you've been on the past couple weeks and had to drop off early, but if you're ready to go, would love to have you start.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me have the floor for a second, and thanks for just permitting me to be here. I've really enjoyed interacting with the community, and wanted to just give y'all a little kind of insight into what we're doing and what we're thinking, and how Loot not only has inspired all of our work, but is going to be eventually weaved into it. So, Gripner is, a company that's bringing tabletop role-playing games to the blockchain. And my co-founder, Patrick, who's an OG Loot holder, really this is all his fault. He came up with the idea. He's a big D&D guy. He's played all of his life. He's a game master as well, and a tech entrepreneur. Sold his last company at a unicorn valuation. And when Loot came out, he got one, and it dawned on him like the obvious use case of TTRPG and blockchain, and we kind of set out to explore and build it. And we recruited a team. Stephen Radney McFarland is our lead game designer. He's been designing games for D&D and Paizo and others for about 22 years, and our art team is amazing. We have stuff hanging in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we've even got Ed Greenwood, who is the creator of the Forgotten Realms, on the game design team as well. So we've been thinking from the onset, given that we're a Polygon-based project, that was inspired by Loot from the onset, like how do we inevitably eventually start to weave some of what our Loot community has created and permit into the Gripner protocol. And while Gripner is the company, the first game world that we're launching is called The Glimmering, right? And the highest ambition for the company itself is to not just release the game The Glimmering on our protocol, but it's to permit other creators and game designers to build on top of it as well, and really expand collective storytelling through tabletop role-playing games. And we kind of started a little bit of this effort a few weeks ago in collaboration with our friends over at Tabletop, right? So Steven, our game designer, created a one-shot called A Dark and Stormy Night that kind of introduces people to the world of The Glimmering. And in that campaign, he was able to weave some of kind of the Loot Genesis lore into it and play that one-shot with the Tabletop community, and going forward, what we like to do and just make you all aware of really is that, the objective is to continue to weave in some of the Genesis lore, as well as those who have participated in the past and continuously in Open Quill to tell their stories, alongside of us and with us, either in the world of the Glimmering or as a separate world, and back those storytellers and get their kind of fantasy out to our larger community. So really, at the end of the day, I'm just here to say thank you for the inspiration and what we're doing, and help you all understand how we intend to carry some of that in. Is just an expression of gratitude and of inspiration.
Well, I'll jump in and say thank you and welcome. You learned quick, and it seems like you've gotten speed run quickly up to the Lootverse. If there's anything people can do to help you guys understand better the canonical principles, the way the projects and ideas and concepts all interweave with each other, other story seeds that have been planted already that you guys can help grow, just let us know. And obviously, y'all are welcome in any part of this Discord, and you're welcome to present again on any of these future calls. Is there anything you do want to present today in terms of like a visual presentation? Obviously, no pressure, but anything you want to just tease?
If you want, I guess I could share my screen. I wasn't intending to come here as like kind of a hard shill. But I am extremely proud of the artwork on this stuff. So the NFTs themselves. So this art team is out of control. There's been 6 artists on the project at the height of it. Our lead artist, Angry Blue, like I said, he's got his stuff in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and our lead colorist, a guy named John Rauch, who's been credited on every Marvel and DC comic in the last 10 years. But we're starting to reveal the Warlocks. In the world of the Glimmering, there are 8 ancestries across 12 classes. So as you can imagine, it's just an ungodly amount of artwork. And this week we're going to start to reveal the Warlocks. I don't know why it's not letting me share my screen, though, for some reason. Oh, here it is. I see it. Give me screens. There you go. Let's see if this works. Can y'all see the Vimeo screen right now?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a gnome warlock. Some animation. And there's, again, we're going to roll out all the ancestries across everyone. I think we did Tiefling this week. Druids last week. And what you'll notice is that the background as well as the audio files they vary based on the actual class of the player character. So really proud of all the artwork and effort the illustrator and colorist team have put into this. And we're finally starting to kind of show the world a little bit more about what we're building. And with the one-shot launch, people, are actually able to play the game now, kind of like as they normally would off-chain. And we'll be launching play on-chain user interface and platform after the Mint, which the Genesis Collection Mint will happen later this summer. So that's the show and tell. Thanks for offering me the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, I'm on my phone, so I actually didn't see it, but I have a feeling that you're only presenting to Discord right now. So maybe you might have 2 computer monitors or something, but maybe pull your visuals up and over. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so
maybe it showed.
Yeah, we saw it. We saw it.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Cool. Nice. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and then lastly,
and the more you guys want to, go ahead.
Yeah, Tim, you would hit me up asking in the community. You were asking for some leads on like PR to get the grant program out there, and I didn't want to just share that in a Discord with 80,000 people because I'm essentially sharing a lot of individuals' email addresses. If you want to DM me on Twitter or wherever you want to DM me, you can also just reach me at brent@gripner.com, GRIPNR. I had my marketing team compile a list of journalists and PR targets to get the message out for the grant program. So if that's helpful and you want that, I have it compiled for you.
Word, thank you. That sounds really cool. I just popped my email in there as well. Thanks for compiling that. And I can send some emails out, and maybe I'll grab a couple other people too. But yeah, thank you and welcome.
Amazing.
And again, if you guys want to, if you ever want to do a brainstorm with a smaller group about just maybe ways to weave some of the canonical principles of loot, the stories of loot and such up and into the world you're building, just pop in. And, we can do an ad hoc voice chat or whatever else.
Yep, let's do it. Love that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the Open Goal Writers group was looking to start some sort of like weekly or bi-weekly like writers call, and so that could be something to plug in.
Great. Yeah, I'd love to participate in
that. Cool. Well, yeah, thanks again, Brent. Super cool. Guys, go check out Gripner and the Glimmering site. The art is pretty fantastic. Let's see. I don't see anyone from the crypt, so let's go. Standard combo. You ready to go?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Standard Combo. I'm here with one of my teammates, Cal Voth, who is a lead community organizer here at Manticore, and does all kinds of cool stuff in the multiverse, like virtual events and things like that with the community. Hello, Tim.
Hello, Standard Combo.
So we're going to talk about Loot MMO. Loot MMO is something that I was just checking the history, and I've been working on it for almost 6 months now, which is crazy. It started in December, and it's come a long way. Like, when I started, I wasn't really sure what I was building, and now we have a really clear idea. We even have the community has already created a Discord server for the project, so thanks for the folks who created that. Let me put the link of that in the general here. So we're just getting started, and I want to show everything about what we've been doing and kind of the full pitch. Let me share my screen here. And we're going to talk about loot and Loot MMO, but I wanted to take a step back and talk about how did our studio get to where we are right now? A brief intro, and how does loot fit in? So this is a social hub and kind of a nexus for the Dead Mouse universe in Core, and this is something that he was wanting to construct for many years, and with Core, it was able to be done in a few weeks, like less than 2 months, I think. It's a really cool space. This was also community created, so there was a game jam, and this ties into what we're doing with Loot MMO, as you'll see. A lot of the content here for the Dead Mouse universe was community generated. Even his music video was composed from community submissions. So there was a big game jam with prizes. It was awesome. It was one of our best game jams. We've organized them for all kinds of projects like that, Dungeons and Dragons, and many others. And it's always so cool to see the results. So let's jump in here to the concert. I'll get it started. We're not going to go through the whole concert, but if you do install Core and you want to play in the Loot MMO and check out our social hub that we're building for Loot, check out the Dead Mouse concert as one of the first things you do, because it's just so cool. It's one of the best experiences that I've ever seen, virtually speaking. It's better than a Disney ride, if I'm honest. And why this is so important for what we're doing is because when we started Core, we were thinking about game development, right? Games, small games, big games. We wanted to make it easy to make games, fast to make games. Making game in Core is like 6 times faster than making it, in established engines, much faster than traditional game development pipeline. And it's accessible to people who don't know how to code and things like that. So we've put a lot of work into the tools, and in the systems it has, for example, automatically deploying back-end servers and things like that automatically scale for the size of your audience, so you don't have to worry about that type of stuff. That's like generally a very expensive engineering endeavor. So we take care of all that stuff for you. And when we did this concert with Deadmau5, we realized that it was pivotal for us because we were focused on games, and we saw the creators were making non-game experiences like this already, and they were not able to monetize, right, that type of stuff. So we built like monetization systems for games that don't work with non-game stuff, and this is where Web3 comes in. Because with Web3, any project now has a channel for fundraising and monetization that can run parallel to the high-fidelity experience that you're able to build with Core, right? So, and this is where we start getting into Loot, because this is what I wanted to do with Loot. I wanted to do a game jam, create a set of tools that are specific to Loot, but are built on top of Unreal Engine, or built on top of Core. And so they will result in like high productivity of development of these MMORPG experiences, right? So I'm not going to show the whole concert. It's like 8 minutes long, I think. So it's a series of these really cool scenes, and you get a big. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it for people who are going to go in. So let's hop into the next section. We're going to go more into the Loot stuff now. And we'll have some time for questions as well. Of course,
While games getting loaded, one of the things that, as we found, is like people love to get together and do stuff. It's just finding out what that stuff is and figuring out the best way to apply it. And I think like what you're seeing now is Gabe's avatar changing into a more appropriate attire for a gallery visit.
Yeah, so I built this gallery. It started as a really fun game inspired by that gallery in Florida where there was a banana taped to the wall and someone ate it. So I called this Banana Gallery, but right now the banana is turned off, so there is a really fun mini game. There's a monkey that spawns right here, and then on the other end of the gallery there's a banana, and then people can there's a team of players get split into 2 teams. There's the thieves and the guards, and the thieves try to steal the banana and give it to the monkey, and the guards get shotguns and try to protect the banana. It's super fun. But we took that out for the demo. So this is kind of like showcasing, my curation, my selection of NFTs. I made each room like a different collection. And over here is the Loot one. And we styled this and we built this to demonstrate, like, because when going into Web3, everyone, first instinct is like, let's make a gallery, and we've seen lots of galleries from other projects and things like that, but we wanted to go a step further and show, like, okay, we can really easily make a gallery. What else can we do? So we can jump into the Lootverse here and go into the Loot MMO. And this is, we're going to go into character selection screen now. And so these are my tokens as well from the different collections that I've added. So I've integrated Genesis Adventures in addition to the ones you're seeing here. There's Realms, Hyperloot for the badges. For the actual loot bags that appear here on the left, I did OG Loot, More Loot, and Genesis Adventure. So far, I could add more that fit this model of like the 8 items and stuff. I did want to show my bag here on OpenSea. I have this is one of mine, the Grimoire Divine Robe of Power. Is this one? It's the one I like the most. And these are my 5 more loots. Let's hit play. So now we'll go into the social hub. So the social hub is one of 3 pieces, central, crucial pieces of the Loot MMO project. And that's where we are right now. So this is a space where players and loot holders can gather. Even if you're not a holder, you can come here and you can learn about loot and maybe get involved and do stuff. And you'll notice there are some doors. So we just built this. This is like fresh off the press. Like I was polishing it last night. There's some doors here and here. They don't do anything yet, but they will do things that people will build, like from the game jams. Right, we're going to run at least one, depending on how much funding we get on Gitcoin. Ideally, we'll keep going and we'll do more and more and more content. This will become a gigantic growth, but we're committed to doing at least one game jam and get one round of cool content, and we'll hook it up to these doors and stuff and put the names up there or whatever. And there's another one over here, and we put some art from the Loot community, some really cool painting that I found on one of the servers. All kinds of stuff around. Here's another door, and each of these is going to go to a different loot MMO experience. But they will all be tied together with like a common progression, common inventory, level up, that type of thing. Over here, there's a bar, and this is kind of an example of someone served a pint. Very nice.
Yeah, I figured you're talking a lot, so I figured.
So this kind of like a bartending minigame back there. Can blow the horn, and this bar is an example, I think, of what. No, don't kill me, dude. Okay, I'll let you show it how it works.
I'm gonna give you a chair to sit down on.
Sure. But yeah, this shows kind of what the type of experiences that could be connected to the different doors. It could be something small like this and contained, or it could be a large world with a kilometers wide terrain with vegetation, right? Like these portals can go anywhere, right? It's going to be up to creators to decide. Okay, there is another example here. So this is where I've integrated against Crypts and Caverns. And I've chosen a couple of maps here, and this is one that I own. I purposely put it here because this is an example of an idea of how we thought about utility with NFTs inside of the high-fidelity metaverse, right? So this is my sunken labyrinth, and we think, okay, what's the simplest thing that I can do is if I'm a holder, I get a bonus XP, right? And then the players who are with me in the party also get a bonus XP. Right, so we're going to jump into that map and play the Sunken Labyrinth real quick. This is a procedurally generated 3D environment based on the data from the SVG from the Crypts and Caverns. Right, so integrations like that, specific integrations against specific collections, are the types of things that are going to be in the Loot MMO framework. So the framework is, in addition to the social hub, the second large piece of the project, right? This framework is a set of tools, components that creators, game developers will be able to assemble into MMO adventures, right? So they have weapons, armor, and you can learn more about all the details of that. I think I go more into details on the website, lootmmo.com. Let me try to reload because it's taking a little long. Any questions so far while this loads? So the dungeon is taking a little bit to load. If people have questions, happy to answer right now.
Is it building this dungeon on the fly?
Yeah. So there might be some things to optimize there.
Can you maybe talk more about like what a game jam is and how it maybe starts and just how kind of it works?
Yeah, the game jams. I mentioned we've done lots of those, so we have experience. We have people on the team that are specifically set up to run them. And what we do is we have a prize pool. We announce the categories for the game jam. So it can be best outdoors environment, best dungeon, best this and that, and you know what I mean, like best narrative adventure, right? Best dialogues, that type of thing. So that's up to be decided, and that would be up to the community as well. This is why I'd like to start getting some people into the Discord server to have that discussion about like which categories do you want to see in the game jam. I don't know why.
Yeah,
it's not launching. Perils of live demos.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, any
like
questions
going
on definitely.
So then the game jam will last for a few weeks, 3-4 weeks maybe. Depending on the demand, like if there's a lot of people interested, we can also do a free boot camp at the start, where we provide like the training into using Core. If people want to learn about 3D multiplayer development, we have lots of educational material about that as well. We have courses, and Core is all free to use and to play and to create. It's part of our philosophy.
And Core was built on
the second
Unreal Engine, so it's using the latest Unreal. Well, not the latest version of Unreal Engine, but I think 4.26.
Yeah, we like to stay 2 versions behind on the Unreal upgrades for stability reasons. Because if you take the latest features, the latest shiny prize, with that comes the bugs as well. So we aim for stability and bug free. All right, we are here now in the Sunken Labyrinth. Let's get going. And this is a demonstration of the combat and the NPCs. So it has ranged and melee combat. You tank. You're the tank. I'm the mage. Now, there are other things like we might think about maybe connecting these dungeons together, right? Because they're pretty small dungeons, the Crypts and Caverns dungeons. So this is kind of the first playable version of it that we can keep going and further develop it a lot more. And I think maybe we use the stairs that exist in some of these maps to connect them together and kind of do maybe a roguelike type of game. I don't know. That would be up to community discussion and the type of game design decisions that we can have in the Discord server. Okay, so what we saw here is another idea of utility that we can have collaborations between projects. So this is kind of a brainstorming thing where we, maybe there's a cyberpunk world, and we do a collab with them, and we drop a lightsaber here, which isn't a normal item you would find in a loot bag, but in Loot MMO, maybe, if the community agrees, like we can have stuff like that optional, right? And this would be a collab that takes us into their world, and I think this type of cross promotion between projects can be very powerful for both of them.
Oh, I just got into the dungeon. I guess I'm late to the show.
And we cleared it.
Well,
you
thanks for the
started
XP.
By yourself. Okay, so this is Cyberpunk that was, I think, part of a game jam as well. Wasn't it? Yeah, so this is one of the winners of one of the game jams. When we launched this tile set, so we produced like a bunch of Cyberpunk style assets and filters and things like that, elements, and then did a game jam to get people involved with the new content, produce cool stuff, and this is one of the ones that came out. It's really nice.
We actually ended up hiring the person that originally made this.
Nice. Yeah, so this is kind of to show the variety of the tool and the styles as well. And one of the things that we could do is we could have a VIP section for loot. And this one's set up to, like, if you're a holder of, whatever token, then you have access. And there's a cheat code that I think Cal both used to access the VIP, but he's going to open the door for us because the guests are allowed if you press that green button there.
Except on mounts.
Well, let's go to the bar. Come on.
Yeah. We can pick the next elevator. Stop
All right,
dancing.
Check, you're gone. You can get the next ride. So this is, I think this bar is called Afterlife Dojo, and then this is kind of a Japanese style theme that was added on top of it. And it shows some more of the features. And it's using the same drinking system that we used in the core the bar where we had the beer serving game and stuff. So here he has martinis and coffees and things like that.
Drinks are better in the other place.
But yeah, this is kind of off topic. So let's go back to Lootverse. My shiny mount. What else can I say about Lootverse? Yeah, those are the three pieces of the Loot MMO project. It's the social space where we are now, the framework, the construction tools that we are launching. Those are about 50% developed at this time, and then the game jams. So let me talk about the timeline for this. So the social space is almost ready to go. I'm just putting the final touches on it. I plan to launch this next week. So next Thursday, this will be public, and anybody who has Core installed will be able to jump in here and appreciate this in third person. And then from here, we can build out, the adventures and stuff that connect to each other. So this goes out next week, and then the game jam, the first game jam, is planned for August, which is an estimate of when the framework will be complete. So mid-August sometime. Let me show a little bit more about the types of environment and things. I think there's a lot of variety that I can show. And you can see in the video there's a trailer on the website, and a little bit of this level appears. So this is another project that is kind of parallel to, because we have lots of initiatives with other projects, and this is another one that's kind of like parallel, and we're sharing a lot of the technology with Loot. It's kind of the same, but different. This one has harvesting and stuff, so I'm going to bring some of these systems into the Loot framework as well.
And there's endless opportunities of what can be brought in or how
that's true.
Used.
Yeah, Core is very interoperable, and the community content section has over 8,000 published community components and packages. So lots of stuff like NPC stuff, dialogue, UI elements, all kinds of
game experience. We could open up portals to a poker tournament.
There's Royale mode, all kinds of game modes. Oh yeah, we could put a poker table into the social hub. That's a good idea. There's definitely space there.
Yeah, so we have systems for a number of things. Like if we have a need, more servers to start up for the Lootverse, you can have 3,000 people running around in the loot worlds. The more loot, the better. That's all. I love it.
Got a mini boss here.
Yeah, so I put a link in the text chat for coregames.com if anybody's interested in learning about it.
Oh, I'm dead. Let me show what
We'll be here waiting for you when you come back.
I want to show one more scene that kind of shows more outdoor environment. So this is a level that's under construction, an environment that's under construction. There's also environment kits, like desert, different forests, things like that people can.
Oh, you can build out biomes however you'd like, but there really is, like I said, versatility in the. I think that looks beautiful. I love that mountain.
Yeah, this is kind of an outdoor theme. Place some buildings here and stuff.
It's giving real practical execution and real practical functionality to loot that you already own and making it part of an experience, which I think is amazing. Gabe did an awesome job. Big fan.
That's kind of what I wanted to show. I think next week when I have the social hub ready, we'll show that off in our server. I don't know how we're going to structure that exactly. I don't want to take too much time from the town hall, but this is Loot MMO. Any more questions? Let me know in the chat as well.
How seamless is it to collect NFTs or like blockchain assets within the game? Like I get the read part, like reading what somebody has and changing their experience based on it. But what about the right direction?
That's a great question. We are starting with the reading, and this is launching pretty soon. The new tech for that, and then the writing part is in research and development, and I believe it'll come further down. Now, I do think it's a good opportunity you can do things in parallel as well, right? Kind of like short term, you can have some parts of the game that are on the website, on your website, right? And some of the on-chain operations. And then, you go there and you do that and you come back to the game and that gets reflected, right? Gets loaded from your wallet. And
that links, as a developer, that links pretty easy to do, like knowing that somebody completed some kind of quest within the game and then sending some kind of message to a front end that then provides access to that contract.
I think once we have the outbound, right, the writing part done, it'll be pretty straightforward to use. That part's not ready yet. The reading part is practically ready. It's just in testing now. It's in QA at the moment, and it's pretty easy to use. The reading part. It's a Lua layer API, and we have pretty robust documentation, lots of examples, tutorials, all kinds of stuff to get people started, and plus the frameworks like the Loot framework that will have the components like already done, already integrated with the collections and things.
Awesome. Great presentation.
Should be exciting. Yeah, me too. We're just getting started. It's really exciting. The Discord server just came up, a couple of days ago, and everything's going really fast now, I think. So we do have fundraising to get through. So thanks, Tim Show, for posting our link there. And we were a little late for the round, but we're there now, and thanks everyone who's contributed. Thanks very much.
Hey, Combo. I can speak for all of us that we are all speechless here. If this is going live next week, can we get everybody spun up and essentially do next week's all hands inside this game world?
I was going to say that.
Yeah,
Good question.
I think we could, because not everyone's going to be able to, right? But I think we could keep the voice in, even though there is voice in Core, but we could keep the voice in Discord and then have one screen shared.
That's what I was thinking.
Whoever's able to. Yeah, that's a good idea. We can test it before. We can try to stress test it to make sure it can handle lots of people.
All right. Well, for some reason, you don't have an outpost yet, but I'm going to make one right now.
Oh, thanks.
And why don't you do some of the coordination for that in the outpost? Maybe like links to get people spun up for accounts.
Yeah, definitely. So that's one thing. I think that those are two things. One is, I'll work with folks to get them with their software set up. But the most important thing that I need help from the community right now is the game design. Because I'm building the framework right now, and there are open questions like, what do the different loot pieces mean? What do the sashes mean, right? Which, like, the different materials, the demon hide, the plated, like, what do all those things mean in real-time action gameplay? Those are the most important things we need to decide right now as a community for the Loot MMO. So I do want to get, like, whoever's interested involved in those discussions. So I think we'll have kind of like meetings that are not on the town hall, right? Like, we'll have Loot MMO meetings to discuss that stuff, I think. So thanks for the outpost, Tim Shaw.
That sounds so... count me in for those meetings, Combo. I wonder, do you have like a... I don't know, maybe we don't need to get into it, but just like wondering the process for, like... Is it just like a spreadsheet or something where you kind of accumulate all this information and then port it in?
Yeah, for questions like this, I usually start with a brainstorm. So open microphone, open text, like just throw your ideas out there, and we record all the ideas on a spreadsheet, and then go through the spreadsheet on a second pass and figure out like what makes more sense and things like that. So brainstorm with everyone is the first step, and then trim it down to something that makes sense holistically.
Cool.
Thank you guys for having us. It's super fun to show this off.
Yeah, it's exciting after working on it for so long.
Combo, I bet you've been the crazy loot geek at your company for a while, where people are like, "Man, why is this guy working on loot so deeply?" So do feel free also to invite more people from your extended crew just to kind of see this stuff live and integrate with the community. Maybe fun for people in your company also just to see the energy here. But yeah, dude, next Thursday, if it's up and running and if we can get invites and access to it, it'd be super cool to have that as like a side parallel universe happening while we're also in the Discord doing the all hands.
Is it okay if I drop the link to Core Games in the general chat?
Yeah, please do it in the outpost too, just so it's recorded.
Yeah, there's a Loot MMO channel.
Sweet. Yep. I don't have permission, sir.
Right, let me give you permission.
I took care of it. I posted the link.
Thank you, sir.
You know what that means, though, is that the way to get permissions is by being a loot owner, and more loot is obviously free and mintable. So you got to mint more loot and then connect your wallet.
All right.
I could come over the top and just give you the admin privilege there to get in, but I think it's more fun if we make you go through the actual
I don't mind doing
process. It's fun.
Plus, you'll have your own loot bag to play in Loot MMO.
Exactly. Really cool. Thank you for sharing. Any final words from you, Combo?
Just thanks for organizing the fundraising, because I think that was the kind of the forcing function that we needed to kind of decide, like, okay, what is this project really, and have an internal discussion in the studio about like what is our role, what is the role of the studio, what is the role of the community when it comes to this game, and how to split those responsibilities. I think the Gitcoin fundraising round has forced us to have that discussion and make those decisions. So I think it was really great. Thanks for organizing that.
Right on. That's probably a good transition for us, actually. Andrew, was there other stuff here that we wanted to chat about?
No, I think that was the end of the agenda.
Okay. Yeah, why don't we transition that then? I'm still on my phone, so maybe somebody else can present. But I would love to transition that to just a quick sort of review of where things are at with the Gitcoin ecosystem round, any new projects that popped up in the past 7 days since we talked last, and just commentary from around the community. Somebody else want to grab a screen share?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Cool.
Gitcoin's site can be a little slow.
Yeah.
Might make me do a CAPTCHA. Waiting.
Sorry.
I can't tell if that's somebody presenting on Loot or just happens to have their microphone on. Oh, you do? Okay, good. It sounds like you're really far away from your mic.
Yeah, it's quite quiet. Is it okay now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can kind of hear you. It's just very quiet. It's like a 2 out of 10 volume right now.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's better.
For sports program, instance, we are very writing music and have the summer. We have finished working on a song for Audio Brilliance, and I would like to present it now. We associate this order with shining radiance, beauty, diamonds, and shining spirits. This is the mood that guided us. I'm going to share a screen now.
Your mic.
Yes.
Yeah, we see it. Your mic is very soft right now.
Yeah, 1337, especially for a music presentation, maybe find a way to get the mic a little bit louder so we can hear.
What did you say? Brilliance? Was that Brilliance?
Yes, we heard the music. Yeah, we heard the music. The music's like maybe a 5 out of 10 volume. Your mic is at like a 2 out of 10 volume right now. It's hard to hear you. But yeah, it sounds really good. Thank you for sharing it. Woo! Woo! Thank you for sharing. 1337, if you want to share any of that stuff for asynchronous listening, maybe pop it into the Bards and Music channel as well. And also feel free to pop in your Gitcoin link so people can see it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a disservice to share music over Discord. It just doesn't come through as cleanly as when you post it. And we can listen to it directly. But it did sound really good.
Very cool. All right, back to you, Andrew. If you want to share your screen, we can talk through some of the grant proposals.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm having trouble.
I could try the mobile screen share, but my iPhone might explode.
Can you see anything? Can you guys see my screen?
I can't.
Okay. It's like exiting out every time I try.
Do you want me to give it a shot?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I will scroll and the folks can chime in. Okay. Okay. Bada bing. Nice, there you go, Glosso.
Got it.
All right. Amazing so far today. My mind is blown by the Loot MMO. Seeing music happening across sort of multimedia world. The Lootverse is incredible. And that brings us to here. So what you're looking at here, if this is fresh to you, I think everybody on the call knows what this is, but if this is fresh to you, or if you're hopping on and listening to this call later, which most of the people who dive into the Lootverse listen to this asynchronously, what you're seeing on the screen here is the first ever Lootverse ecosystem grants round. I've been working with Gitcoin and some of the Lootverse community. Taylor Zhang was really the one who planted this original seed to say, hey, Loot is not really a DAO, and Loot isn't really an organization that takes coordinated action in any way. But there are a ton of builders who are building public goods and building services and projects and products and even companies on top of the Lootverse. What if we could take a little bit of coordinated action to take treasury? Loot has a very small treasury from royalties from OpenSea. Builders with no strings attached grants to help builders, help artists, help writers, help developers, designers, and musicians now just get the ball rolling. For some of these projects, these are full-on companies, and for some of these projects, this is a singular character that somebody wants to build, and it's really everything in between. We kicked this off, started the work on this about 2 months ago, and I've been coordinating the background, and we just kicked this off formally last week. There are now 17, 18 grants, something like that. Loot put up $130,000 of Loot's treasury, which I think is about a third of Loot's treasury. Though with markets, maybe it's been cut in half in the past couple weeks. But $130,000 of real USD or USDC or DAI here. And it's being allocated across these 17 or 18 proposals by the community and for the community. And by the community, I don't just mean Loot owners, I mean the Lootverse and really the Ethereum network at large. Anybody who believes in the the sort of power and magic and beauty of Loot as a window into a new use case for the blockchain and a window into a new use case for the Ethereum network. It's also, for a lot of people, been sort of a time machine. Lets you see maybe what the future may hold in terms of on-chain media, what the future may hold in terms of decentralized, asynchronous, semi-pseudonymous coordination between communities across the community. And so what you're looking at here is a set of the first round of proposals. But this has gone so swimmingly well that I'll say that we're very likely to do another round of this next week. Not next week, next month, whenever the next GR15 Gitcoin ecosystem round 15 comes up. But in the meantime, this is open for another week, and you can see the magic of this. So the way this works is that individuals give grants, and the grants can be $1. It can be $10, $100, an ETH, whatever you want to give. And then through your grant, it's matched through quadratic funding from the Loot 130,000 matching pool. So in this case, this is actually the one that's on the screen right now is me and Loot Hero, who've been building the LDK, the Lore Development Kit for the Lootverse, sort of the foundational canonical principles for builders, a guidebook for builders and creators. And just to call out like how magical this quadratic funding math works is that if you pop in and you donate $1, we get a $37 match from the Loot matching pool. You know, if you donate $100, it's a $200 match from the Loot matching pool. It evolves based on the calculus of quadratic funding, so it's not like a 1-for-1 or a 1-for-2. But it's just a beautiful way for the network, both our own community and the wider community, to express their support for what's happening here, to vote with wallets, even just $1 at a time, and to really give a lot of encouragement and enthusiasm and energy to people who are building in the space. The one on the screen right now is Stellaris' project, the Tabletop, which is I think going to be open source D&D assistant or D&D RPG game. 61 contributors have donated about $1,000, and it looks like $14,000 is being matched right now from the Loot royalty treasury. Again, like, this is not life-changing money, and it's obviously not enough money to start a company or really fund a big project. But the goal here is more about encouragement and about bootstrapping and about sort of proving a model. And if we can prove that this model works to help start some flywheels, we will do more of this. Gitcoin is an incredible platform. Gitcoin for the wider Ethereum network has just been a godsend, and it just feels perfect for Loot. Maybe we could do a noun-style prop house thing at some point, which is more specific to just Loot holders voting on things. But I feel like this one's perfect because Loot, to me, maybe this is too dramatic, but I think Loot is not only a foundation for a sci-fantasy world-building experiment and an ecosystem of builders and artists and creators and developers to build this world together. Not only is it that, I think Loot itself is a public good for the Ethereum network. And I think Loot itself is a public good for Web3 in that Loot is not crypto tokens. Loot is not DeFi. Loot is not sort of the traditional monkey picture NFTs. And I know there's a lot of Bored Ape punk holders in the Loot community, so I don't mean that in a denigrative way, just in a way that it's something different. Loot is something very different. And Loot has opened up just a use case for the blockchain, the use case for the Ethereum network, that I think has opened a lot of people's eyes, not just to the sci-fantasy geek amazingness of Loot itself, but also the meta story of what Loot has unlocked for all of us. So I think I'll stop there, but thank you. I think it was who's presenting, Glasso. Thank you for being my presenter on the back here. And I'm on my phone, so somebody can mute whoever's making sound. That'd be helpful. But yeah, thanks for presenting that. If you're on this call here and you haven't yet donated through Gitcoin, please do. You just spent an hour with us on the call here, or 75 minutes. It'll take you an extra 2 minutes to donate through Gitcoin, and it'll cost you $1, $5, $10, $1,000, whatever you want to donate. It's all no strings attached, just pure grants. But it's the right vibe for the Lootverse, and more than anything, it's a way of raising your hand to show up and say, I'm here, and I see what everybody's working on. And for builders and artists and creators who are putting themselves out there, myself included, and who are saying, "Hey, I'm here to build, with and for and around the Lootverse." This Gitcoin ecosystem around is a really nice validation and a really nice sort of coming together of the community.
Yeah, and it's incredible too when you look at the spectrum of talent that's being captured by these grants. I mean, the biggest meme for Loot, I think, lately has always been like when Loot game, and we have multiple incredible like games, right? Or like in the Loot MMO case, like could be a game, could also be just a general purpose metaverse, right? Even bigger than the concept, even more generalizable than the concept of a game, really. But a lot of people are just when Loot game. But the things that people aren't asking that are just amazing to see here is like when Loot tapestry, right? When Loot music, when Loot, like all the other things that are being captured here just blows my mind, right? Just like the things that are so much further outside the box than most of the world is thinking about. To see that captured here is just incredible and very, very exciting.
Yeah, and I'll also just add like that the fact that there's kind of like also on top of this like an avenue to actually get like for many folks, I mean, and for me, this is like substantial funding for the work that you're doing from the get-go. It's like remarkably empowering, and it's opening up a possibility for there to be a whole new way of like funding artists to make art. So this thing has been really, really special.
Yeah, yeah, it's like the financial, element is there, and then also like the community appreciation is like built into this model, right? Like the work that we're all creating. So there's a community there to instantly appreciate it and value it, and I think that's really important too as an artist.
Yeah,
this is great.
Can I give like a 30-second update to my proposal? Because I just added a bunch of music to it. That's all right with y'all.
Right on, go for it. Yeah, Mike is open for anybody who wants to talk about proposals you're excited about, or your own proposals.
Okay, yeah, so, bada boom. Yeah, I'm kind of wishing I got mine up like 2 days before because it feels like I missed out on the earlier round of funding, but my proposal is in a very incredible position where $100 gives a $915 match. So it's very exciting. I just, so I've been like rushing to just get like stuff recorded so I can have like a more substantial amount of content on here so it doesn't read like a bunch of empty words. So like 2 of my Luke songs I just recorded like some like acoustic demos for over the last couple of days just so people can get a sense of the work that I'm doing here. And then, yeah, I mean, the general idea of my grant and the work here is that, like, if you really want people to be able to, like, kind of, like, dive into this brand new world of, like, Loot and the Hyperverse and this, like, totally different and novel way of making art, I think that the very beginning of that process is people going to be, like, interacting with, like, typical internet, like, content. Like, the first thing someone who's never heard of this is not going to be, like, some NFTs, but it's actually going to be, like, videos on TikTok and stuff. So I think in order to really bring that next bunch of people to Loot, we need, quality content. And I'm going to be, just building my music career around the Hyperverse and putting out a bunch of music. And I have this whole suite of characters that I would like to do that for. And I would like to build bridges to the general public to, get onboarded into this new world. So, yeah, that's my little grant. And you can check out my music, too. I'll link to it in the chat. Bada bing. Okay.
I love it. I think it was you, Glasso, that really started the music trend within Loot, or the music movement, if you want to call it that. There's now, 3 or 4 different music projects. And music as a standalone is obviously a beautiful invitation, but music weaved into the canonical principles of Loot, and music weaved into the characters and the stories and the games and more is really just a powerful backdrop. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for leading the charge.
Absolutely. Gonna love it here.
Who else do I see? I see Zidara. If you want to talk some Genesis Scrolls, open quill stuff, we can do that. Who else? Foolish, if you want to talk about your stuff. Banners, if you want to talk about Call to Banners. No pressure, but just mic's open if you want.
Yeah, one thing I'll point out too is you can contribute using ZK Sync, right? And that's a ZK rollup technology that's coming out, or that's rolling out. I think they're in alpha now, but they have their alpha bridge already open, so you can actually bridge some ETH over and then use ZK Sync. And it's one of the applications that's really high up on looks of like the potential to tokenize. And I think in some of their docs they've even stated somewhat explicitly that that's the goal. So yeah, that's another area that may be worth considering, to use ZK Sync to contribute to the grants, just to register a little bit of activity on chain. Some of the previous airdrops have looked at Gitcoin grant donations favorably. So it's kind of a double win here, that you can donate to some of these projects and use a new cutting edge, zero knowledge rollup that could potentially result in you receiving some tokens later on. So just wanted to point that out. One side note there is that, unfortunately, while normally it would be really cheap to do that because zero knowledge rollups are really efficient. Unfortunately, if you don't already have funds on, ZK Sync, then you have to bridge, and you're going to have to pay L1. So it's not going to be the most cost-effective move if you have to bridge and donate. So just keep that in mind. But you might want to wait till L1 gas is really, really cheap to maybe move a little bit over, and maybe donating some to Gitcoin. Some of these grants would be one thing you do, but then maybe you just want to use that as an opportunity to test out ZK Sync in general and see what that team and the community is building.
Thanks, Luke Hero.
Hello, I've got an update for mine. So, Playful Volcano Goddess is like one of the people that wrote one of the open quills for Violet and her story. And I'm going to add her to like the team with my grant. She wants to write a novel, or like however long she can get based on however much funded she gets for Violet. So it'll pack out her kind of world as well. So I'm going to add that. It's not on the grant yet, but I'm going to add all the information soonish. Thank you.
Yeah, all the stories and characters in Luke, Violet has like been built off of like a ton. It's really cool. She's popping up everywhere these days.
Yeah, thanks. I'm hoping like it inspires people to add more like really significant characters and like pack them out properly. Because I think it takes like a lot of work to do just one character to the max. So yeah, hopefully everyone jumps in that.
I'm surprised one thing we didn't see this round really is like any kind of merchandise, like no one doing like any kind of physical, like wearable stuff. I know they had like the Luthor group for a while, right? I don't know if I've heard from them recently. Does anybody know if they're still working on a lot of IRL stuff?
Yeah, I think with I've been talking with them a little bit. I think with the downturn, some of their funders pulled out. So I think they have gone a little silent, but from what I understand, they're still in the background working. But I should follow up with them.
Yeah, make sure they know about the Gitcoin, grant round at minimum.
Yeah. I've talked to them too. They do know about the round, and they, I think, just kind of where they're at. if we do a second round in the next couple months, they'd probably jump into that one. Just
Okay, great.
would make more sense kind of with what they're thinking about their future right now. But yeah, I mean, they did like build out kind of an entire IRL kind of questing experience, and so that's like ready to go. They're just they just needed more time, and obviously funding to kind of to just be ready to like launch it at an event like NFT NYC or an ETH event or something like that. So yeah, they're still working hard at it.
Yeah, glad to hear it. Yeah, I want somebody to produce some IRL divine robes, distribute them.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Oh my god.
And you don't need a divine robe bag to get me.
No,
it's like
just wear it
just like at least like a level 4 bag in the Rift or something, right? Just do a little thing. It could be more loot, could be G loot, could be OG loot, whatever it is. Just prove that you've actually done some stuff on chain with it, and then you get a divine robe.
Yeah, we need like people dressing up in loot gear for like Halloween and stuff, right?
Speaking of physical items, we're not doing physical apparel, but there is a physical thing as part of this round, which is the physical Genesis Scrolls book that we're all working on. And so maybe we can chat about that for a sec. Zidara and I and Loot Hero, you can speak to this. And then there's also another proposal I'd love to talk about. But my heart from the beginning of Loot has been about sort of unlocking the power of on-chain media and the power of composable stories and composable characters and story seeds that can have sort of the provenance of the blockchain from this moment forward forever. And maybe Loot never turns into this beautiful multiverse world we can imagine it can be. But if it does, how epic it's going to be to look back, in whatever 5 years and say, look at these early stories, Violet and these early Genesis adventures, Loot stories, characters, big and small. But so if you're new to this Genesis Scrolls project has really been a dream of mine back since like September when we launched the Genesis project and right at the beginning of Loot, which is the community coming together to collaboratively compile a compendium of short stories across the Lootverse. I like that turn of phrase also. Collaboratively compile a compendium of short stories across the Lootverse and write it into a physical book. So community-crafted content, edited together, worked on together, weaved together, that all stems up from the canonical principles and the foundational physics and the canonical concepts of Loot, but then compiled together into this sort of loose, diverse compendium. From short stories to long stories. Somebody wrote some poems last week, which is awesome to see. Character sketches, the diary entries, to everything you can imagine in a sci fantasy short story collection. Goal here is to publish it into a collection of short stories into a real physical book. Publish them, either work with a indie publishing house or maybe just do self-publishing, depending on how much funding we get here, and deliver them into the real world. Ideally onto the bookshelves of all of our houses, and more. I think it's also similar to what Glasso was saying. It's an invitation out to the wider world for people who don't necessarily know or care about NFTs or know or care about Web3, but who just love good stories. Hopefully the content we create is not only from the canonical foundation of Loot, but it's also just good, pure, geek fantasy fiction, sci fantasy fiction. What we've seen so far has been incredible. I think we've seen 30 or 40 stories so far from 25 authors, something like that. I've been leading the project through Open Quill Foundation alongside Loot Hero and Banners Kajon and Zidarova Karova. And so if you guys want to grab the mic and chat about it, what it means to you or where it's at, or any requests to the community, or if any of you want to share your screen also and pull it up, that would be a cool time.
Yeah, talk about it a little bit. So I think it's sort of similar to Get Point Grants, right? It's just focused specifically on writing. And I think we even talked about in the future we could potentially even structure it like within Gitcoin grants as specific, for writing, and then utilize the quadratic voting. But essentially it has the same feel to it that we're trying to, provide incentives for people to use their creative minds to bring the Lootverse to life through stories. And through round one, we collected over 30 stories, and I'm going through them all right now to try to review them, and it's I think like 300 pages or something. It is quite long, and the range of stories is amazing as well. There's all different. There's poems in there, short stories. Some are kind of humorous, some are more dark. So a great range, and I do think that us being able to complete this cycle and produce a physical book that can be distributed does kind of it provides an interesting full cycle to this experiment of collaborative world building, I guess, and putting it in a book form. I think just makes it feel more real and tangible. So we're into round 2 now, so it's still open for submissions. From a writer perspective, it really just feels a lot like Gitcoin grants, but instead of writing a grant proposal, you're just writing a story about Loot, and you submit it, and then at the end of each round, we distribute rewards to everybody. So no prior writing experience needed. There's no hard structure to what like the nature of your stories. They can be funny, they can be sad. We do encourage everybody to participate in it, and I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll chime in for a second. I mean, just echoing what's been said is, I think this has been an interesting experiment in community world building, and I think there's been a lot of success in it. Seeing the support, and I think the turnout from the community, and I think also the quality of writing. Granted, these are short stories, but to see 300 pages worth of writing generated from the community all around shared world and shared NFT project is really cool to see. And I think we're just scratching the surface on how we continue to build together and continue to move forward. I'm just excited to keep building out, get more sophisticated, like Lutira was saying, and instituting things like quadratic voting, and finding the best methods for us to continue to incentivize ourselves to build together, and engaging this like decentralized community building a world. It's really cool.
Hey guys, you don't know me because this is the first town hall that I've been part of, but I just wanted to chime in and say I've been involved in publishing for a couple dozen years, and so if you guys want to know kind of the process that you go through to submit a book for physical sale and such, I'm happy to take you through it at some point in time. So
default, that would be great. Would love to get on a call with you and talk through that and get a rundown.
Yeah, happy to. Just drop me a line anytime you want.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll DM you.
What's cool about this project too is that we can flex with how much grant funding we get. So if there's a significant amount of grant funding, we can go wild and go down that path of like getting a real indie publisher to truly help publish this and get it into bookstores. And if we end up with less, already we have 30 ETH with another 20 committed. Actually, I think another 10 committed. So all in, there's enough here to truly publish this in a self-published way. So at the low end, worst case scenario, we're going to self-publish, self-design, and sell this online through just a website and through either Blurb or Lulu or a platform like that, and then everything in between. But just to reinforce where this money is going, the purpose of this program, and really the purpose of the Open Quill Foundation that we started, is to help bridge writers into Web3, and to help set out fantasy writers onto this Web3 adventure by giving them no strings attached grants. So I think we said like 80% of the funding of this Open Quill and 80% of the funding of this Genesis Scrolls project will actually just go straight back to writers themselves through these no strings attached grants. And then the other 20% or so should be used for actually doing the admin work to get the thing published and created and out the door and into the universe. So yeah, really excited about this. It's given me a ton of energy, and just, I don't know, you can tell I'm a geek and you can tell I'm excited, but this project specifically just feels like it's the manifestation of a lot of my own Lootverse dreams into a single project. So I guess I'll say it. Please do support. I'm going to send out a tweet right now, too. Luckily, we've already had, how many, 107 people vote for it in the Gitcoin grant. But the more, the better. We may come around and do a direct proposal straight to the Loot royalty DAO as well, depending on where this lands. But the more you support, the more we can just get the energy of the community standing up and raising their hand and saying we're here for it. Alright, I want to share that. So we got Genesis Scrolls Open Quill stuff. Zidara, or Andrew. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I would love to talk about the Divine Eye NFT project. It's somewhat of a companion to Genesis Scrolls in a way, of like a cousin project, in that we are, the pitch. We're funding content to build out this world, and in the way Genesis Scrolls is going after a very community first, the people who are already here, incentivizing us to write and to grow the world. Divine Eye NFT is going to go outside of our community and find professional writers to come in and supercharge the energy that we've already got going. So the NFT itself, and I can even share my screen and pull up the page. Do it really fast. Is my screen showing?
Yes.
Cool. So the Divine Eye itself is going to be a combination of three things, really. There's the NFT, which is going to be the thing you can purchase. It'll be a reader of on-chain stories, and those stories will be held on an open source backend, which is called the Librarium. And essentially, stories are going to be written to chain, and then they're going to be surfaced up and curated through the Divine Eye NFT. So what it's going to mean is holders of the Divine Eye will be able to get, special access to helping to shape and build the slate of content. And there'll be a team that'll be funded through the proceeds from the mint, as well as any grants that we get, and support from other projects, to be able to go out and hire a professional slate of a figurehead, as well as professional writers, to come in and pull together a slate of 5 or so pieces of professional grade, high quality content. What that slate looks like, I think, is still TBD, and probably be have large input from the writers that get brought on board. And the more we raise, the better and higher quality and better scope of the content we can provide. But this is an experiment in helping to figure out, what's the model of how we incentivize traditional writers to bridge them into Web3 in the same way that we're doing with OpenQuill. This is just a different model. And we're really excited to be able to execute on this. So we've got people like Devin and others on the team who have connections already into the professional space, Hollywood and whatnot, to be able to move and execute on this. And we're really excited to have the community support and bring the Lootverse to life with broadening the scope, the reach of the content creator who can get into our ecosystem. So yeah, I mean I guess it would open up for questions. I'm sure I haven't done a great job of all the details.
I just have to say, I think that actually sounds quite fascinating.
Great.
The only thing that I would suggest in relation to speaking to established writers and creators is something that I run into a great deal, because I mostly deal with the traditional publishing world and the traditional game and such. There really is a negative connotation within certain communities towards Web3. So I run face to face with people who, we have good rates, we have good hiring policies, and they say, no, we just don't want to work with anything that has Web3 association.
Yeah, I've seen that too in forums. There's obviously Reddit posts all about it, and I think the reality is that we're going to have to overcome those barriers in some way. And I think a part of that just comes through, finding the right people who are open to it. And I think we've had connections already with some writers out there who are open to exploring putting stories on chain and connecting their works to tokenized assets. But yeah, I do think there is some of that sentiment I've already seen. I scratched the surface a little bit. I'm sure you have more experience than I do on that, but I think that's just a reality, is that there's going to be some who are just going to, some professional writers who just aren't going to be our audience to attract initially.
I agree. I've definitely found it's about 50-50. You'll definitely find some really quality people who don't really care. It's just something to look out for and not, become obsessed with a certain community or a certain group of people before really knowing whether or not they'll want to engage in this environment.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, to that point too, is that, the reason we're coming at this in a different way is, we have to reach writers where they're at. And we have to, engage with them in traditional methods, because that's how they're comfortable doing business. Traditional IP constraints and traditional contracts and structuring of deals, all of it's going to have to be pretty similar, and then we kind of layer in the stuff will be published to a blockchain, and understanding, what that means for them and working through that. I think, this is still somewhat unexplored for much of us, so it's going to be a learning process. But I think that's the way we've structured this. It's a set slate of content, and it's not necessarily open-ended, and it can be contained, self-contained, and scoped, so that the contracts are easier to draft up and hopefully more palatable to these professional writers.
Well, I would also say that the comic book writers are more used to working within this environment. They're very comfortable with work for hire. Novelists tend to care a little bit more about the rights, because that's how their publishing contracts work. It's usually a royalty against guarantee, or a payment against royalties and things like that. Whereas for comic book people, whenever you work for Marvel or DC, you're never going to own anything that you get paid for, and you just kind of accept that.
One thing to throw in the mix there, maybe a little bit less so for the Divine Eye project, but the Genesis Scrolls project and other open bill programs. The way I would think about it, at least for the couple of first rounds, is that it's work for hire for a decentralized community, but where that decentralized community is committed to unleashing the work that you create into the public domain, which I think is pretty different from hey, I'm working for hire for Marvel, and they're going to go sell this comic book and make a bunch of money, and I get paid my writing fee. In this case, it's, I'm going to get paid a writing fee and get some rewards and grants, and then my work is going to be published in the public domain, like Shakespeare, like Winnie the Pooh, like anything that's in the public domain now, like scientific articles, and so it just feels a little bit more pure, I guess I would say. It feels like a fun entry point for people into this universe.
Yeah, I could definitely see that philosophy for sure. I think you're going to find some people who really just like. I still work in regular publishing, but I moved to Web3 because I like the CC0 stuff. Like, it's fascinating to me. I want to be involved in it, and I think you'll run into other people just like that.
Yeah, I mean, finding more people like you. I mean, I think there's several here in the Lootverse. I think it's gonna be a growing trend. I think it's different. I think it's a new frontier that IP constraints and stuff they're different, and some of the IP copyright licensing is maybe not adequate for to handle this new space. So I think that's also a frontier to explore. But yeah, I mean, we're trying to start with something very MVP here to test it out and figure out a model that we can start building more stories. And again, we're decentralized, so I think we want to still engender the same ethos that there are independent builders who can own IP and own their project to come and build together in a collaborative world versus having a centralized owner of the whole thing. I think that's once I think writers understand that piece, that it's just an open oyster and that they can bring their audiences and discover new audiences and build their own brand together, but still owning their own brand, I think would be interesting to try and help them understand that.
If you're into kind of old school reading, kind of nerd reading, I would suggest some H.P. Lovecraft stuff. When Lovecraft originally wrote his Cthulhu mythos, his intention was to make it public domain, and he intentionally wrote it in such a way so that it wouldn't be copyrightable.
Interesting. I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, I think I was thinking something similar of that, where examples can go a long way in convincing people of something that's more abstract. That people in that domain, they don't understand how necessarily blockchain works. Under the hood, there's some hesitation about the security and all that kind of stuff. But if you have someone who has worked on a respected work, and you can convince them to, someone bigger might actually be easier, right, to get on board with a writing project, and then that story becomes a catalyst for everyone else to be like, yeah, okay, I'll do it too. You know what I mean?
I think that's very reasonable. I can tell you that some of the people that I speak to are solid creators, and I know of a number that would absolutely do CC0 stuff right now. They don't have the limitations around the blockchain or anything like that. For them, it's just an opportunity to do something. Honestly, they just have to be paid well, and they're fine.
Any other questions on Divine Eye NFT project?
Just really, really impressed. Incredibly excited.
Yeah, we're pretty stoked too. I think we're more excited for what happens after. That the mint will go well. By the way, the mint will be coming out at the end of the month. So stay tuned. At Divine Eye NFT is our Twitter handle. And you can see all the details there in the Gitcoin grant proposal. But yeah, we're really stoked. We're really stoked for the content we can bring to the Lootverse and start to really pump some energy that's already happening and just supercharge it with some more writers and more thought and world building.
Love it. Thank you for leading charge on that, Zadara. I didn't dive in on that too because you guys have already heard me talk about how excited I am about other things, but I guess I will just say I'm also very excited about this Divine Eye project. I've been involved in helping to steer and drive this for the past few months, and I think it's really powerful. We're coming at this sort of shared collective dream of on-chain media from two angles with the Genesis Scrolls and the Divine Eye, both under the auspices of this Open Quill Foundation. And I'm just lucky to be able to spend time on this. I mean, how lucky are we all to be able to spend 2 hours on a Thursday talking about sci-fantasy geekery and bridging writers into this universe and just the power of collaborative world building. I think we'll look back on this in a decade and say, wow, that was a pretty special time in our lives. On that note, we're 2 hours in. Anybody else want to present any of your grant proposals that are out there, or just general notes, ideas, feedback, thoughts about the Lootverse or the Hyperverse in general? Maybe we call it, Andrew.
Yeah, I think we can call it at an hour 45. Yeah, before we go, I'd just like to share my grant that I put through a week ago this morning. Finally made it through Gitcoin as of like 15 minutes ago. And, I don't have like any visuals to share for it, but basically it's just about, continuing to do what I've been doing, whether that's, hosting these Loot Town Squares or, putting agendas together, running the Loot Twitter and things like the Herald newsletter. I kind of looked at it at this grant as kind of a, could be seen as like a retroactive for the last 5 or 6 months of doing this kind of work. But also just looking forward, like pretty soon here, I'll have quite a bit more time to focus on, community efforts for Loot. And so, I'd like to keep doing what I'm doing, but, hopefully expand on that, get more active with the Loot Twitter, do some more things with the YouTube channel and the podcasts, of this Loot Town Square, and, kind of look at ways maybe to make the onboarding process easier, among other things. And so, I just wanted to share. I shared that in the general chat, the link to that grant. So I would appreciate if y'all could take a look at that. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah, that work is invaluable. Thank you so much. I just contributed. Bada bing.
Bada bing. Thanks, man. All right. With that, let's call it. Thank you, everyone. Love the energy. Let's keep it going.